Right. It's just kind of getting over all that. It's just getting over. Hi, everybody. Liza Donnelly here, cartoonist and writer for the New Yorker and other places. And I'm here at the Society of Illustrators. Beautiful building. Um, and it's a wonderful place for art, illustration, cartoons, and good to see all these people joining quickly. That's nice. Good to see you guys. So I'm going to walk through and show you some of the art. I curated this show and I'm very proud of it. And it was really, really fun to do. And tonight is the reception opening. A lot of cartoonists will be here, I hope. So let me turn this around. I can show you some of the pieces that are in the show. It's 2 floors. This is on East 63rd Street near Lexington Avenue in New York City. So let me turn this around. So here's the beginning. These wonderful, here's my coffee. This wonderful decal that the society likes to put up with the shows. It's by Lewis Williams, who was a very prolific cartoonist in the early days of the New Yorker. Harold Ross very much liked his work and used him a lot. There's Harold Ross and Jane Grant, the founders of the New Yorker, back in 1925. It's a portrait of Harold Ross by Garrett Price, a cartoonist. These are artifacts that I put together. This is a scrapbook of Helen Hokinson's work. She was an early cartoonist for the New Yorker, and they made these scrapbooks. It was their way of cataloging the art. So they would clip each piece out, paste it in a book, and each cartoonist and spot artist with small little drawings in the magazine had their own scrapbook or were in groups with others. This is an issue of the first magazine. And this is a cartoon by the first woman cartoonist of the New Yorker, Ethel Plummer. I love this drawing. This is the first drawing that was in the New Yorker in 1925. February 21st was the first issue. This is by Al Free, also a very popular cartoonist. Alice Harvey, another early cartoonist. I won't go to every single one. Just show you some of my favorites. This is a print, because I put some prints in the show because I couldn't find the original to hang, and I knew that people would love this drawing, so I wanted to put it in the show as a print. It's broccoli deer, and it's broccoli deer, and the kid says, yeah, I say it's spinach, and I say to hell with it. This is a giant James Thurber that the Society of Illustrators owns. It was not in the New Yorker. It was a cover of the Pocket. It's called The Pocket Entertainer, a book. And I had to put a print of this wonderful Thurber drawing, which I adore. All right, have it your way. You heard a seal bark. Quintessential Thurber. We don't know where the original is. It's gone, or somebody has it. We just don't know who they are. This is an original Thurber. A woman is saying to her doctor, then I get this feeling that my feet are trying to tell me something but can't. There's the original of Lewis Williams. Not the original, sorry, it's a print. Alan Dunn, one of the more prolific cartoonists in the early days of the magazine, and he was married to Mary Petty, one of the other few married cartoonist couples. I'm another one of those. I'm married to Michael Baslin. Otto Saglo, who became the creator of Little King, which started in the New Yorker. If you knew that strip as a kid growing up. He began in the New Yorker, and he had his first Little King in the New Yorker. Two of my favorite people. This is Helen Hokinson. You guys must remember her. If you're a fan of the New Yorker, you know her work. So this is from the collection of Stephen Nadler and Ellen Cavee, who are wonderful collectors of New Yorker art. And it says, "I'm sorry, Madam President, there won't be any treasure report this month because we have a deficit." Hokinson did a lot of these matron drawings, and often they were in these clubs discussing the world and how to fix it. And this is Barbara Sherman, one of her covers. This is from the collection. It's from the collection of Bruce Block, who has an amazing collection of covers. Barbara Sherman was one of the first women cartoonists in the magazine, as was Helen Hokinson. They both started in 1925. This is an early Charles Addams cover from 1938. And Mary Petty, I had no originals of hers, but I made this print, which I love. She was an early woman cartoonist, but she started in the 30s, I believe, or late 20s, excuse me. And the painter is saying, "No, dear, no, Miss Mayberry, just the head." And here's an original Barbara Sherman. "Yes, we're going to Europe. Henry's drinking too much." Beautiful original. You can really enjoy her artistry. Like, look at how beautiful that is. Let's see. This was a print of the work by E. Sims Campbell, who was, as far as we know, the first Black cartoonist. Caption is, "Here comes the part I like." Sorry, that is from 1934. Yes, over there's a lovely Mary Petty with her cover, one of her covers. She did a lot of covers and cartoons about this maid character that she created called Faye. And this is Peter Arno, who you all have heard of, I'm sure. This is a print, but I wanted to show this cartoon because this is where this phrase came from. Well, back to the old drawing board, 1941. And there's a lovely Helen Hokinson up top. Caption is, "All the taxis are pretending they don't see me." 1945. Helen Hokinson, unfortunately, was killed in a plane accident in 1949. She was, I don't remember how old she was, but she wasn't very old, probably in her late 40s or 50s. Very tragic. And this is an early William Steig. If you've been a fan of Shrek, and he changed his style considerably over time. This is a 1950, but right after this, he changed his style. And here's an original Peter Arno. You can see how beautiful the artwork is. Caption is, "I'm sorry, sir, you just..." 1953. He did a lot of covers, as did Helen Hokinson. Covers usually, actually, I could probably say always, featured her matronly ladies, whom she loved. She was not making fun of them. She was very fond of her ladies. Early Garrett Price cover. And here is an Ed Koren original. He drew very big, as you can see. It's always fun to see how people draw. Read the caption. It's long. Sometimes captions are long. It says, "We've got a complaint that his steak poivre was dry and overcooked. His chicken vinaigrette was prepared poorly in a sticky sweet and sour onion sauce that bordered on the inedible, and his leaf spinach with mushroom salad was crudely seasoned. Wonderful and necessary to be long. Of Upper West Side life in Manhattan and making fun of a certain demographic. That's a lovely Barney Toby. And here's a Charles Adams. Can you see it with the glare? Captionless, but you can see the mover is moving furniture, and there's a table coming out, flying out of the house by itself. Very Charles Adams. It's a nice cover by Ilona Karas. I don't know much about her, but it's, and I love Jean-Michel Fallon. I don't know much about him as a person or an artist, but I love his work. I just love that. And this is from 1966. It's an original. And here's a Frank Modell, who I did know. He's a lovely man, very regular cartoonist. He worked at the New Yorker before he became a cartoonist. He worked in the offices. Forget what he did, but lovely man. Yes, Saul Steinberg, a print. Just had to have a print of his in here. Saul Steinberg influenced. I know he did me. And here's one of his covers. He did a lot of covers. This is from 1959. Oh, okay. Looks like it's multimedia, but I can't really tell. Maybe this has been pasted on. It's hard to tell. I don't think so. Be colored in the back. It's very innovative. Different. His work was always different. And here's a cover by Charles Saxon, who was a very prolific artist. As well as cover artist. In the 60s, this is from 1968. He continued until the 80s. There's another Alan Dunn drawing. And this is one of my favorites, Barbara Sherman. She was, as I spoke about her earlier on this walkthrough, and she was so sharp in her commentary on what was going on in the 20s in New York City, and for women particularly. And it's a sequential. So she's sitting with this man. He's talking, gesticulating. At one point, she has to dodge his hand. He's talking, puts his hand on her knee and says, "You're a very intelligent little woman, my dear." And she said nothing. It's an early mansplaining cartoon. And there's Whitney Darrow, who was also an early, very prolific cartoonist, and Warren Miller, whom I know. Haven't seen him in a while, though. Another Ed Koren cover. I think it's a cover, yeah. I love it. His Fuzzy People, signature Koren. And this is a Charles Saxon uh, cartoon. It was a print because I could not locate any original art of his. And the woman saying, "It was nice. Hard times give everyone such a sense of camaraderie." 1975. Sharp commentary on the class situation in our country. And here, a lovely cover by Arnie Levin, which I loved his work. He's I don't think he's submitting anymore, but he's a wonderful cartoonist. There's Misha Richter, who I was fortunate enough to meet. I also knew Arnie Levin, or know Arnie Levin. Misha Richter. And here's a later Steig, which I mentioned before. He changed his style, and this is from 1976. Title drawings. He did a lot of title drawings. Okay, that's this floor. And I go down to the next floor. Here's some photographs I want to show you. So this is an early photograph taken by Anne Hall. Sorry, bad lighting. From 1991, and I'm in the back there. And Roz is right in front of me there, and Michael Maslin is to Roz's right. And Jack Siegler is in there, and Corey Roberts, Artie Love. And this is one from 1947. But I'm not going to name them all because I don't remember all their names, but I know some of them, like Saul Steinberg is in here. There's William Steig, there's Saul Steinberg, Barbara Sherman, Helen Hoganson, Mr. Charles Adams, I know is in here. There's Charles Adams. But as you see, only two women. And this picture was taken in 1997. And I'm not going to name everybody, but again, these are mostly guys, mostly male cartoonists. And I'm in there. It's me, Mr. Bob Mankoff. And Roz is here somewhere. There's Roz holding a parasol. And Barbara Smoller's in here somewhere, Victoria Roberts. So there's three of us. And this is an old picture of Harold Ross's art desk. And this is a photograph of conceived of and planned and plotted and raised money for their humor publication, which was called eventually the New Yorker Magazine. Right now, downstairs. Get more modern now. Here's a Charles Adams. She's saying, "Ready, dear?" And this is a cover by Myra Kalaman and Rick Meyerowitz called New Yorkistan from 2001. And here we have a George Booth wall. Love this. Love George Booth. I knew him well. And he passed away just a couple of years ago. Wonderful guy. Just a lovely man. Last call for stuffed peppers, or I feed them to the dog. His dogs are amazing. And his cats, too, I should say. And here's one. How about supper in the tub tonight, hun? Detail. I mean, so many of these wonderful cartoonists had worlds that we love to see every week. And here's one of his covers, beautiful cover. This is from 1976. And now we're heading into the more modern times. And this is a decal. The Society made with work by Roxy Monroe, cover artist, a friend of mine. And here's the print of the original. She has sold all her original art, so couldn't get the original of this, but it's wonderful. It's from 1982. Ronald Searle cover and a Jack Ziegler cartoon, one of my favorite people. And he was like a older brother to me. Jack Ziegler. This is from 1980. He's a nice guy. Very funny. And he's sort of, here's Ed Frashina, who lives in California and LA, and it's also a friend. Jack was somebody whose work really kind of changed a lot of our thinking, made us think differently about cartoons because his stuff was just very weird, just weird. This is Frank Cotham. And Roz Chast, who started in 1977, I think, or 78. And this one's from 1983. And she was very different than anything we had before. So this is really excited to be able to show this one. This is a cover by Robert Bleckman, who was also a cartoonist and animator. But he did covers, and this is one he did for the anniversary year, one year in 1996, because the New Yorker started doing cover issues instead of using the typical Eustace Tilley that you are familiar with. They started making a Eustace Tilley version, and this is one he did for what was called the women's issue that year. It was, the women's issue was guest edited by Roseanne Barr. This is a drawing that a bunch of us did at lunch one day. It's a compilation. It makes no sense whatsoever, but we just did it for fun. It's Mick Stevens, Roz Chast, Liza Donna, and Jack Ziegler. It's just a comic strip, and it makes absolutely no sense. Michael Crawford, Mick Stevens, one of my dear friends, Arnie Levin, original. Arnie did a lot of these wonderful captionless cartoons, which I love. This is from 1983. I'm not going to go through every cartoon, but Victoria Roberts, who joined the cartoonist community in mid to late 80s. Caption is, where did Verve get us? Really fine drawing and artwork, and her signature was, drawing style was these wonderful patterns she did on people's clothes. And her tone, she had a real tone of voice in her captions. Asher Perlman's a print. William Steig, a cover, which I love this cover, 1984. Maggie Larson. These are newer contributors. Sophia Warren, Zoe C., Jeremy Wins, Felipe Galindo, Peter Vey has been around for a while. He's not new, but he's been a steady contributor since I forget when. This one's from 2022, but Peter, I think, maybe started in the 90s. Elizabeth McNair. And Peter Cooper does a lot of political cartoons, sometimes for the Daily. So Sarah Quintero, a Black cartoonist from London, is now contributing to the magazine. The cartoonist community always had a few people that were from different countries, but not that many. Ali Solomon, Bishak Song, Emily Flake, Lonnie Millsap, Barry Blitt, a cover, or not a cover, but a drawing he did for Inside the Magazine. I love his watercolor work is beautiful. This is from Alice Rosen. Ed Steed. Interesting to see how this is an original. I think, yes, I know that this is a print. Many of the newer cartoonists work digitally. Not everybody. Hillary Campbell. Wong. Julia Suits. Liana Fink. Bruce Kaplan. A little story about Bruce is he's also a screenwriter in LA, and he wrote the episode of Seinfeld about New Yorker cartoons. If you remember that, Elaine tries to write a New Yorker cartoon that he writes for the screen as well as cartoons. Zach Kanan. Lawyer's Kenseth. Smaller. I support your right of free speech. I just don't support your tone. Emily Sanders Hopkins. Emily was, as far as we know, she was the first Black woman cartoonist at the magazine. She started in the early 2000s. David Borchardt. Chris Wyant. J.C. Duffy. Mads Horwath. David Cypress. Bob Eckstein. Drew Dunavich. You may now approach the giant novelty chair. Farley Katz. Kim Warp. If I go for the bread, stab my hand. Matt Diffie. Robert Layton. Paul Noth. Tom Toro. William Hamilton, who actually is not a recent cartoonist. Larry Hatt, aka Andy Friedman. I don't know why Andy used a pseudonym. If he's here tonight, I'll have to ask him. This is one of mine that I did right after 9/11. Daddy, can I stop being worried now? Cartoons are not always funny. At least mine aren't. for a purpose. This is William Hafley. Sometimes it would be helpful if you were a bit more androgynous. Gan Wilson. So did you hear about all the excitement? And Nurit Harlan, who was a friend of mine. She was from Israel and moved to New York early in her life, in her 20s, and started submitting to the New Yorker. And she sold in 1974, broke sort of this time period in the New Yorker when there weren't any women cartoonists for about 15 years, and she was the first woman to be brought on board in the 70s. And Lee Lorenz was the one who brought her on board along with Roz Chast and myself. Sam Gross. I'm sure you all know Sam's work. He did a lot of work for National Lampoon, as well as the New Yorker. Charlie Barsati. I bark at everything. Can't go wrong that way. Lee Lorenz. Here, Lee was the cartoon editor when I started, and also a great cartoonist. Here's the deal. In exchange for ceasefire, they'll share their technology. He's a great editor from 73 to around 2000, I think, or 1999. John O'Brien does mostly captionless drawings like this. This is one of mine. Fun can happen to adults too. And Leo Cullum, who in his spare time was an airline pilot. Yeah, I knew him, and he was a lot of fun. Amazing. Our airplane pilot for a major airline and a cartoonist for the New Yorker. Another Victoria. Everybody's just a teensy bit in love with me. How about yourself? And Bob Weber, who one of my favorite cartoonists from those years, the 60s. Just love the way he drew. This is all charcoal. Very easy and fluid and expressive. And this caption is, "Thanks, Mom. Thanks, Kevin. I had a very nice time." And then Sampé, who I adore, a French cartoonist. And Ed Sorel, dear friend of mine who's work is amazing. He did a lot of covers, a lot of work for other publications, very political. Arthur Getz cover. Bob Benkoff, one of the more well-known cartoons. No Thursday's out. How about never? Is never good for you? Dana Frading. And Peter Steiner, I want to know this print in here because we all know this cartoon. It's perhaps one of the most reproduced cartoons from the New Yorker in the history of the New Yorker. On the internet, nobody knows your dog. Peter Steiner in 19. Bill Woodman. Lucette Martel. I love her work. She was working in the 90s, I believe. She's a painter. And I think that's it, except for a few on the wall over here. George Price, who was somebody that influenced me early on. I understand he has arranged to have his ashes strewn all over the backstretch at Belmont. James Stevenson, extremely prolific. He was in every issue, and often political. This one's not, I don't think. If Roscoe were a horse, he'd be a Lepenzahner. And a Sampe cover, which I love. Oh, huge influence on many of us. Just a beautiful artist.
I think I saw it.
Look at that. Look at that drawing. It's like, whoa.
That one's different though. But then they got like weird.
Wait, not another tingling?
Yeah.
Incredible.
I love
Looks like a pen. That's pen and wash. Sort of a light wash, a gray pen. And then draw his chest.
Yes.
And that's it.
Probably, yeah. Why don't we come up here?
There's Steve.
Oh, you said
He's the head of exhibitions here at the Society.
hello.
He hung this show and
Yeah.
dealt with all my angry. Which helps because I was very nervous about the whole thing. So that's it. Hope you enjoy the walk around. Let's see, we had 1,000 people joining us. That's great. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you're coming to this later, I'll see you later. Otherwise, stop by if you're in New York. Come see it. It'll be around until March, mid-March, I think. I forget the date. Thanks. Take care, everybody. Thanks for being here. Bye. Hi. It's doing a lot for my subset. How are you?
Happy New Year. Congratulations. Great. So I have some stuff. I don't know.